The scent of freshly brewed coffee lingered in the air as I settled into the cozy cafe booth across from Janet, my best friend since childhood. Our weekly catch-up sessions had become a cherished routine, a sanctuary where we could share the highs and lows of our lives without judgment. "So, how's married life treating you these days?" Janet asked with a mischievous twinkle in her eye. I chuckled, taking a sip of my steaming latte. "Oh, the usual ups and downs. Adrian's been working a lot lately, but that's just the nature of his job." Janet leaned forward, her expression turning serious. "Mira, I don't mean to pry, but have you ever considered the possibility of, infidelity?" I nearly choked on my coffee, the words hitting me like a slap across the face. "No, of course not. Adrian and I have been together for over 20 years. He would never do that." Janet's gaze softened, her hand reaching across the table to clasp mine. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have brought it up like that. It's just, I've heard some rumors about Adrian spending a lot of time with a younger colleague." A heaviness settled in the pit of my stomach as doubt crept in, threatening the foundation of trust I had built with my husband. I forced a smile, brushing off Janet's concern with a wave of my hand. "You know how office gossip can be. Adrian's just dedicated to his job, that's all." But as the conversation shifted to lighter topics, a nagging whisper lingered in the back of my mind, planting seeds of suspicion that would soon take root and grow into a tangled web of deceit. Over the next few weeks, I found myself hyper-aware of Adrian's behavior, scrutinizing every detail. The late nights at the office, the sudden influx of work emergencies that required him to cancel our weekend plans, the evasive answers when I asked about his day, it all seemed to pile up, fueling the flames of doubt. One evening, as I sat alone in our living room, the silence deafening, I made a decision. I needed answers, and I wouldn't rest until I uncovered the truth, no matter how painful it might be. The next day, when Adrian announced another mandatory work weekend, I didn't question him. Instead, I waited until he left, then slipped out quietly, determined to follow the trail he had left behind. With a pounding heart, I tailed Adrian's sleek black sedan through the winding city streets, careful to maintain a safe distance. The seed of doubt that Janet had planted now blossomed into a thorny vine, choking my trust and filling me with dread. Adrian's supposed work weekend took an unexpected turn when he exited the highway, steering us away from the corporate offices and into the suburbs. My knuckles turned white as I gripped the steering wheel, 1,000 questions racing through my mind. Finally, he pulled into the driveway of a quaint bed and breakfast, the kind of place couples would frequent for a romantic getaway. I watched in disbelief as a slim, blonde woman emerged from the lobby, embracing Adrian with a familiarity that made my stomach churn. Their bodies intertwined in a passionate kiss, oblivious to the world around them. Tears stung my eyes as the harsh reality sank in. My husband, the man I had loved and trusted for over 2 decades, was betraying our sacred vows. I fought the urge to confront them right then and there, knowing I needed to gather more evidence. With a heavy heart, I turned my car around and headed home, the once cherished memories of our life together now tainted by Adrian's deceitful actions. Over the next few weeks, I became a master of deception, carefully tracking Adrian's movements and documenting every discrepancy. Credit card statements revealed extravagant charges at the bed and breakfast, coinciding with his work weekends. I even hired a private investigator to capture photographic proof of Adrian's trysts with the blonde woman. As the evidence piled up, so did my fury. How could he throw away our marriage, our family, for a fleeting affair? The man I thought I knew had become a stranger, consumed by selfish desires and lies. One evening, as we sat down for a family dinner, Adrian's phone buzzed incessantly with texts. He excused himself, claiming an important work matter, but I had seen enough. "Enough lies, Adrian," I said, my voice trembling with a mixture of anger and heartbreak. "I know about the bed and breakfast, I know about the woman." His face paled as I revealed the damning evidence, photos, credit card statements, and private investigator reports. For a moment he remained silent, caught in the web of his own deceit. "How could you do this to us?" I demanded, fighting back tears. "After everything we've been through, you threw it all away for a cheap affair." Adrian's gaze dropped, shame etched into his features. "Mira, I'm sorry. It just happened, and I didn't know how to stop it. "Save your excuses," I spat, my heart hardening with resolve. "I want a divorce, and I'll make sure you pay for every ounce of pain you've caused this family." With a heavy heart and a burning desire for the truth, I decided to follow Adrian one more time before confronting him. The bed and breakfast had provided damning evidence, but a part of me still clung to the hope that it was all a misunderstanding. I tracked his car to a secluded art retreat nestled in the mountains, far from the prying eyes of the city. As I approached the sprawling estate, my stomach twisted into knots at the sight of Adrian's car parked near a cozy cabin. Swallowing my fear, I crept closer, peering through the windows. What I witnessed shattered the last shreds of denial within me. Adrian and the blonde woman lounging on the couch, her head resting on his lap as he tenderly stroked her hair. The intimate display left no room for doubt. This was no mere fling or casual dalliance. Adrian had cultivated a deep connection with this woman, one that had clearly blossomed beyond the boundaries of a simple affair. Tears streamed down my cheeks as I watched them share a passionate kiss, their bodies intertwined in a lover's embrace. The man I had promised to love and cherish until death did us part was now a stranger, his actions a betrayal of everything our marriage stood for. I stumbled away from the cabin, my vision blurred by the tears that refused to stop flowing. How could he do this to me, to our family? We had built a life together, weathered storms and celebrated triumphs, only for him to discard it all for a fleeting romance. As I drove home, my heart shattered into a million pieces, the pain of Adrian's deceit cutting deeper than any physical wound. But amidst the anguish, a newfound determination took root. I would not be a victim in this story. Adrian had made his choice, and now he would face the consequences. The following days were a whirlwind of preparation. I meticulously gathered every shred of evidence, from credit card statements to private investigator reports, building an ironclad case against Adrian. No longer would I be the naive, trusting wife. I would be the architect of his downfall, ensuring he paid the ultimate price for his betrayal. When the time came to confront him, I was ready. We sat across from each other at the dinner table, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. "Adrian," I began, my voice steady and unwavering, "I know everything." He paled, his eyes widening as I unveiled the damning evidence before him. Photos of his intimate moments with the blonde woman, financial records detailing his extravagant expenditures at the art retreat, and detailed reports from the private investigator. "How could you do this to us?" I demanded, my anger barely contained. "After everything we've been through, you threw it all away for a cheap affair." Adrian opened his mouth to speak, but I silenced him with a sharp glare. "Save your excuses," I spat, my heart hardening with resolve. "I want a divorce, and I'll make sure you pay for every ounce of pain you've caused this family." In the aftermath of Adrian's betrayal, I found myself consumed by a burning desire for justice. The pain of his deceit cut deep, but I refused to be a victim. With a steely resolve, I began meticulously piecing together the puzzle of his lies, determined to unravel every deception. I pored over our financial records, cross-referencing credit card statements with the dates and locations of Adrian's clandestine meetings. Each extravagant purchase at the art retreat or the bed and breakfast felt like a dagger to my heart, a tangible reminder of his infidelity. But I didn't stop there. I hired a private investigator, instructing them to gather indisputable evidence of Adrian's affair. Within days, my inbox was flooded with damning photographs, Adrian and the blonde woman, their bodies entwined in intimate embraces, oblivious to the world around them. As I sorted through the incriminating evidence, a newfound sense of determination coursed through my veins. Adrian had made a grave mistake in underestimating me, and now he would face the consequences of his actions. With each piece of the puzzle falling into place, I felt a twisted sense of satisfaction. The man who had once been the center of my world had become my greatest adversary, and I was prepared to fight fire with fire. I spent countless hours strategizing, plotting my next move with the precision of a seasoned tactician. No longer would I be the naive, trusting wife, I would be the architect of Adrian's downfall, ensuring he paid the ultimate price for his betrayal. As I finalized my plans, I couldn't help but feel a sense of empowerment. For too long, I had been a passive observer in my own life, content to let Adrian take the lead. But his infidelity had awakened a fierce determination within me, a burning desire to reclaim control and exact my revenge. When the time came to confront him, I was ready. We sat across from each other at the dinner table, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. "Adrian," I began, my voice steady and unwavering. "I know everything." He paled, his eyes widening as I unveiled the damning evidence before him. Photos of his intimate moments with the blonde woman, financial records detailing his extravagant expenditures at the art retreat, and detailed reports from the private investigator. "How could you do this to us?" I demanded, my anger barely contained. "After everything we've been through, you threw it all away for a cheap affair." Adrian's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air, his excuses dying on his lips as he realized the futility of denial in the face of my overwhelming evidence. "I want a divorce," I stated, my tone leaving no room for negotiation. "And I'll make sure you pay for every ounce of pain you've caused this family." In that moment, the power dynamics shifted, and I knew I held the upper hand. Adrian's deceit had given me the ammunition I needed to dismantle his life, brick by brick. The game was on, and I was determined to emerge victorious, no matter the cost. With the evidence of Adrian's betrayal laid bare before us, the air in the dining room grew thick with tension. I watched as he squirmed in his seat, his face contorted in a mixture of shame and disbelief. "Mira, please," he pleaded, his voice trembling. "Let me explain." "Explain what?" I spat, my anger burning like a raging inferno. "How you threw away years of marriage for a tawdry affair. How you lied to my face, day after day, while you were gallivanting with that woman." Adrian flinched at the venom in my words, his eyes downcast. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this. I never meant to hurt you." A bitter laugh escaped my lips. "Spare me your excuses, Adrian. You made your choices, and now you'll face the consequences." Pushing back from the table, I rose to my feet, my gaze fixed on him with a steely determination. "I want a divorce, and I want it to be as public and humiliating as possible." Adrian's head snapped up, his eyes wide with disbelief. "Mira, think about what you're saying. This will ruin me, both personally and professionally." "Good," I countered, my voice dripping with contempt. "Maybe then you'll understand the pain you've caused me in this family." Before he could protest further, I turned on my heel and stormed out of the room, leaving him to stew in the wreckage of his own making. Over the next few days, I set my plan in motion, meticulously executing each step with surgical precision. I hired a ruthless divorce attorney, one with a reputation for playing hardball and securing favorable settlements for their clients. Together, we crafted a strategy that would not only ensure I received a sizable portion of Adrian's assets, but also inflict maximum damage on his professional reputation. I provided detailed evidence of his misuse of company resources to fund his escapades, from the extravagant art retreats to the lavish gifts he had showered upon his mistress. With each passing day, the walls closed in around Adrian. Whispers of his infidelity began to circulate within his workplace, casting doubt on his integrity and trustworthiness. Clients grew uneasy, questioning whether they could rely on someone with such a blatant disregard for moral principles. And through it all, I remained steadfast, a pillar of strength and determination. I had warned Adrian that I would make him pay, and I intended to keep that promise, no matter the cost. The final blow came when I demanded full custody of our son, Jonah. Adrian's eyes pleaded with me, silently begging me to reconsider, but my resolve was unwavering. "You've proven yourself unfit to be a father," I stated coldly. "Your selfish actions have torn this family apart, and I won't allow Jonah to be collateral damage in your mess." Adrian opened his mouth to protest, but the words died on his lips as he saw the steely resolve in my eyes. He knew, in that moment, that he had lost his wife, his family, and any semblance of the life he had once taken for granted. As I walked away, leaving him to grapple with the consequences of his actions, a sense of vindication washed over me. I had taken back control, reclaiming the power he had so callously discarded. And while the road ahead was sure to be paved with challenges, I knew that I had emerged from this ordeal stronger, more resilient, and unafraid to fight for what was rightfully mine. The revelation of Adrian's affair sent shockwaves through our lives, rippling outward and leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. As I had promised, I made sure the details of his infidelity were laid bare for all to see, stripping him of the veneer of respectability he had so carefully cultivated. Within days of filing for divorce, whispers began to circulate in Adrian's professional circles. Colleagues who had once admired him now regarded him with thinly veiled contempt, their respect eroded by the knowledge of his sordid actions. I left no stone unturned, providing detailed evidence of how Adrian had misused company resources to fund his escapades with his mistress. Extravagant art retreats, lavish gifts, and luxurious hotel stays, all funded by the very company that had placed its trust in him. With each damning revelation, Adrian's professional standing crumbled. Clients grew uneasy, questioning whether they could entrust their business to a man with such a glaring lack of moral integrity. Lucrative deals began to slip through his fingers as competitors seized upon the opportunity to undermine his credibility. And through it all, I remained steadfast, a silent observer as Adrian reaped the consequences of his actions. The man who had once been so confident, so assured in his position, now found himself floundering, grasping at straws to salvage what little remained of his career. But the fallout extended far beyond Adrian's professional life. Our once happy home, a sanctuary of love and laughter, had become a battleground, with each room holding the specter of his betrayal. Jonah, our beloved son, grew increasingly distant, retreating into a shell of silence and hurt. The father he had once idolized had become a stranger, his actions shattering the foundations of trust that had once bound our family together. In those moments, I found myself torn between the desire for retribution and the need to protect our son from further pain. But Adrian had made his choice, and I was determined to shield Jonah from the worst of the fallout. As the divorce proceedings progressed, I fought tooth and nail for full custody, unwilling to allow Adrian's selfish choices to dictate the course of our son's life. The legal battles were fierce, with Adrian's once formidable resources dwindling in the face of my relentless pursuit of justice. "You've done enough damage," I told him during one particularly heated exchange. "Jonah deserves a stable home, free from the shadow of your infidelity." Adrian's eyes pleaded with me, but I remained resolute. He had sacrificed his right to be a father the moment he chose to betray our family. In the end, my unwavering determination paid off. The judge awarded me full custody, citing Adrian's blatant disregard for his familial responsibilities as a deciding factor. As I watched the realization sink in, a sense of vindication washed over me. I had reclaimed control, ensuring that our son's future would be safeguarded from the chaos of Adrian's selfish desires. With the divorce proceedings in full swing, I knew it was time to deliver the final blow, a decisive strike that would ensure Adrian paid the ultimate price for his betrayal. I had played my cards carefully, gathering evidence of his financial misdeeds and meticulously building a case that would leave him with no room for escape. As we sat across the table from each other, surrounded by a phalanx of lawyers, the tension was palpable. Adrian's once confident demeanor had crumbled, replaced by a haunted look of a man who knew he was fighting a losing battle. "We have irrefutable evidence of your misuse of company resources," my lawyer stated, sliding a thick file across the table. "Unauthorized expenditures, misappropriation of funds, all in service of your illicit affair." Adrian's face paled as he thumbed through the damning documents, each page a testament to the depths of his deception. Receipts from luxury hotels, extravagant gifts for his mistress, all paid for with company money, a flagrant violation of corporate policy. "This," he stammered, his voice trembling, "this is all a misunderstanding. I can explain." "Save your excuses," I interjected, my voice steely and unwavering. "You've had ample opportunity to come clean, but instead you chose to compound your lies with financial fraud." Adrian's eyes met mine, and for a fleeting moment I saw a glimpse of the man I had once loved, a desperate plea for understanding, for forgiveness. But those sentiments had long since been extinguished, replaced by a burning resolve to ensure he faced the full consequences of his actions. "In light of these revelations," my lawyer continued, "we believe a significant adjustment to the proposed settlement is warranted." Adrian's grip tightened on the arms of his chair as the revised terms were laid out before him. A substantial portion of his assets and investments, along with the forfeiture of any claims to our marital home. It was a harsh but deserved punishment, a tangible reminder that his selfish choices had come at a steep price. "You can't be serious," Adrian protested, his voice thick with desperation. "This will ruin me, both personally and professionally." I leaned forward, my gaze unwavering. "That's the point, Adrian. You made your choices, and now you'll face the consequences. The same consequences you so callously inflicted upon our family." For a moment, silence hung heavy in the air, punctuated only by the sound of Adrian's ragged breathing. He knew, in that moment, that he had been outmaneuvered, his once formidable resources no match for my meticulous planning and unwavering determination. Defeated, he slumped back in his chair, nodding slowly to indicate his reluctant acceptance of the terms. It was a hollow victory, but one that filled me with a sense of vindication nonetheless. As I left the conference room, the weight of Adrian's betrayal lifting from my shoulders with each step, I couldn't help but feel a sense of triumph. I had reclaimed my power, stripping him of the very things he had once valued above our marriage, his wealth, his status, and his illusion of control. From this point forward, the path ahead was mine to forge, free from the shackles of his deceit. And as I looked toward the future, a newfound sense of purpose burned within me, to rebuild, to heal, and to emerge from this ordeal stronger than ever before. The ink had barely dried on the divorce papers, but a newfound sense of liberation coursed through my veins. After months of intense legal battles and emotional turmoil, I had finally emerged victorious, reclaiming the life that Adrian had so callously discarded. As I stood in the foyer of our family home, my home now, I surveyed the familiar surroundings with a fresh perspective. Gone were the shadows of betrayal that had once lingered in every corner, replaced by a renewed sense of possibility. It was time for a fresh start, a clean slate upon which to rebuild the foundations of my life. I wasted no time in setting the wheels in motion, enlisting the help of an interior designer to breathe new life into the spaces that had once been tainted by Adrian's deceit. Out went the reminders of our former life together, the expensive artwork he had purchased in an attempt to impress his mistress, the luxurious furnishings that now felt like relics of a bygone era. In their place, I curated a new aesthetic, one that reflected my newfound independence and resilience. As the renovations progressed, I found solace in the simple act of creation. Each design choice, every paint swatch and fabric sample was a tangible expression of my journey, a reclamation of the home that had once been our sanctuary, now transformed into a haven of my own making. But even as I immersed myself in the process of reinvention, I couldn't ignore the profound impact Adrian's actions had had on our son, Jonah. The once vibrant young man had retreated into a shell of silence and hurt, his trust in his father shattered beyond repair. It broke my heart to see him withdraw, but I knew that rebuilding our bond would take time and patience. I made it a point to involve Jonah in the renovation process, seeking his input and allowing him to shape the spaces that would become his own personal sanctuaries. Slowly but surely, the walls he had erected began to crumble, and I caught glimpses of the son I had once known, a young man with a keen eye for design and a yearning for self-expression. As the final touches were added to our newly transformed home, I couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and accomplishment. This was more than just a physical space. It was a testament to our resilience, a tangible reminder that we had weathered the storm and emerged stronger on the other side. In the weeks and months that followed, I focused my energy on reconnecting with Jonah, nurturing the bond that had been strained by Adrian's selfish actions. We spent countless hours exploring our newfound passions, whether it was discovering hidden gems in the city's vibrant art scene or experimenting with new culinary adventures in the kitchen. And through it all, Adrian's presence faded into a distant memory, a cautionary tale of what happens when one prioritizes fleeting desires over the sanctity of family. He had made his choices, and now he was left to grapple with the consequences, a mere shadow of the man he had once been, his professional and personal life in tatters. As for me, I had reclaimed my power, emerging from the ashes of betrayal as a phoenix reborn. The path ahead was uncertain, but I embraced the journey with a newfound sense of purpose and determination. This was my life, my story to write, and I intended to fill its pages with the kind of love, laughter, and unwavering resilience that had carried me through even the darkest of times.